For our next session, we're going to take a look at the top and hear from CEOs of very distinguished companies and find out how they're translating intention into action. And for this, I'm delighted to welcome a very familiar face to the stage. Many of you will already know her from last year and the years before. This is Claire Carlson, CEO of Mitt Liv. She's going to be hosting this conversation. Please give her a very, very warm welcome.
Hello. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Yeah. And hello to everyone who's online with us as well. Wonderful to be back, 5th year on a row. Yes, today I am still CEO at Mitt Liv. I got the position a year and a half ago. Those of you that were here last year, you might remember that I said that there was a bit of a question if I should have the role because I've got dyslexia. Well, I'm here, dyslexia and all, and it's going very well. So that's all good. Okay, so those of you that are new, welcome. And if you don't know who Mitt Liv is as an organisation, it was founded by the amazing Sofia Appelgren, our host today, 18 years ago. I joined the organisation 12 years ago, and we're basically working to accelerate inclusion in the labour market. We do this through mentorship, through leadership, through recruitment, and support organizations actually turn inclusion into real action and impact. And one of the things that we do is we run the CEO for Inclusion program, where we bring together senior executives who, through reflection, challenge, research, and action, put together and look at how that they can actually bring inclusion to meet business where it is. So with that as an introduction, we've had an amazing journey the last 6 months with our CEOs in this cohort, and I'm going to invite them up on stage now. So Carina from Bankgirot, Magnus from Autoliv, Nadine from Sandvik, and Alex from Adecco Group. So have a sit on the sofa. I'm going to cozy on around. Okay, are we ready? Yeah, we're good. All right, great. So as I said, senior executives, and you've got a lot on your plates. I know that, trying to coordinate everything. But yet, these last 6 months, you've put time and really focused on this journey together. Why? Why does it matter? What's made it so important? Magnus, would you like to?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, actually. So 2 reasons for me. First of all, I think it's important for me, my personal values, to be part of the solution and not the part of the problem. And I think this opportunity gives a good arena to have a dialogue and actually influence. I think secondly, Autoliv, we operate in a very competitive environment. We need to take all the opportunities we can to really stay ahead of competition. And I think diversity and inclusion is one of those levers that we need to further develop and take advantage of.
Yeah. No, great. Carina, do you want to add anything to that?
No, it's the same for us, but we are a Swedish company, a Czech company in payments, only in Sweden. So that's the main difference between us. But I would also say that for me, we're working on trying to get it in the DNA of the company. That inclusion and diversity is part of the leadership, whatever we do. We have a journey, we're not there yet, but we have started. And that's why I felt that I would like to join here to learn more. And because I think it starts with me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It starts with me, even at this level. Okay, we talk a lot about inclusion, and we've done so in 18 years, but it's complex. Alex, why do you think it's so, why is inclusion so complex?
Yes, thanks, Claire, and hi, everyone. I think it's so complex because good intent doesn't always lead to success, and it takes way more than good intent. And as we've heard, it's very multidimensional. As you've just said, Carina, it's down to leadership. It's also down to processes. There's societal influences. It is complex. But it's what really you embed in the day-to-day, I think, that really matters. And I would say there's kind of 3 areas. Good intent is not enough. You need to really define what good looks like, otherwise it can be very vague.
Yeah.
And really embed into the day-to-day, as I just said. And what I mean by that is, when you're making choices of who gets that stretch assignment, who gets that promotion, who gets that opportunity to be mentored, to think really holistically about that. Yeah. And then the other area is around really calling each other out. When you're under pressure, things can not happen the way you want them to happen. It's easier when things are more relaxed and things are under control. But when you're under pressure, I think that's when things can slip. And it's about really holding to your beliefs and calling each other out if you don't feel that things are going the way that they should.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. First, the first thing you said as well, with regards to actually clarifying what good is, that goes for everything we do, right? And that's a really simple part of inclusive behaviour. In whatever meeting you're in whatever position you're in, clarifying rather than assuming is really important there. Yeah. The 4 of you came into this program with different experiences and different journeys around diversity and inclusion as well. And then, we've evolved together during this time. Nadine, how would you describe that kind of evolution that we've done these 6 months?
Yeah, it was a really, I would say it was inspiring and challenging at the same time. And I think that is a really good combination, because that is really bringing us further. I think I have the pleasure to work for a company, Sandvik, who has inclusion high on the agenda. We have it in our strategic objectives. We have it really in activities, very much through the organization. At the same time, I am personally very much into this inclusion, because Sandvik is a very technical company. We are in mining and in manufacturing. So for me personally, it has always been high on my own agenda. But I think what this group gives us as well is to give a sounding board and what are our experiences, what are we doing, and mainly trigger also the non-conscious, what are we not doing? Because each of us are living in a very kind of specific part of it, and we are exposed to one area. And I think we have been challenging each other a little bit more, coming from different setups, different industries, different parts. And I think for me, learning is one of the biggest skills. We can never stop learning. We can never stop opening our screens, like our views, our eyes. So for me, this was one of the really good reasons to be kind of are we a little bit too focused, blinded on our own journey? So how can we stimulate each other? The second point is around the intention and impact. And I think here, Claire, you also, and then with, of course, some academic also support from Laurence in the program, what I appreciated a lot was also the fact of okay, challenge the thinking, what are you going to do? I mean, that question I heard a lot. What are you going to do? And I think that is what we also need, because it is part of words and expressions and words written down, but ultimately what makes the difference if people see all of us do the things, act, show up in that way. Yeah. So, and that is, I think, was really, really beneficial.
Yeah. So taking that intention into action and following through on that action on a regular basis as well. Yeah. Pretty good, hey? We've had fun, I can say. If we go back to when we all came together for the first time in November, we spent a whole day in Stockholm, and we were exploring, we were getting to know each other, getting to know where you're coming from with diversity and inclusion, and trying to find out what is it that we can come together around. And already then, you started challenging us as well with regards to, what would be that kind of no regret framework that organizations, regardless of context, industry, size, region, can get behind, can invest in with the knowledge that it's going to lead to impact. And on top of that, it was incredibly important for all of us that this was actually evidence-based and not just opinion. And that's where, since we started collaborating with Stockholm School of Economics in this program, and the amazing Professor Laurence Romani, who is our lead academic in this program. She couldn't be here today. She flew back from Seoul last night, but I know she's online, so a little bit of a wave and shout out to Laurence. And what we were able to do after that day in Stockholm was we digged into the research, and we found lots of different kind of examples, but in particular a research which came out last year, which is a systematic meta-review. And for those of you like me who aren't necessarily fully academic in the different levels, a systematic meta-review is like the cream of the crop on an academic level. So researchers in Australia, they took 13 years worth of diversity and inclusion studies, over 6,000 studies, and insights from 37 meta-reviews. So we're talking an enormous amount of data, and explored what is it that is actually leading to sustainable impact. And two really important takeaways from this one. One, there is no single diversity, equity, and inclusion intervention that actually delivers sustainable impact on its own. No single thing. However, when we combine our interventions across a relation of different aspects, that is when we will then find the impact. So what we did in the program is we developed a model to provide us with that no-regret framework, like an architecture for inclusive success. And that is the commitment that the four of you are now standing behind to put this model into practice. So the model looks like this, where you have two conditions for inclusion. You need to work with the structures and the processes, and you need to work with people and relations. Okay, so those are the two conditions. And then you have three enablers of inclusion, where you need to have your leadership in place, you need to have culture, you need to have skill development. And of course, these 5 areas, which we've started to call the 5 pillars, is that combination. But then there is also an important aspect of accountability in this work as well. It's not just, getting this done, it's following it up, it's making sure that this is sustainable over time, right? So that's a short insight. There's lots of information about this that we can give you later around those different pillars as well. But that's quite theoretical. So let's make it concrete, let's make it real. What are we actually doing, and how are we going to use this to actually turn it into, practical application? And Alex, you've already started. You had a lot of inclusion work already going on at the Adecco Group. How have you used the model so far to be able to actually maybe improve or evolve your approach to inclusion?
Yeah, sure. So we have 4 pillars. So we incorporate the 5 areas, but into 4 pillars. So those pillars are under leadership, processes, culture and community, so it covers all areas, and of course underpinned all of that with accountability. And that's a global framework which is deployed across all of the countries, but then the execution really happens locally in the countries. But I think what's important is what sits underneath those pillars and what are the activities that you're doing that really bring this to life. And we have a number of different initiatives that we're running from a global perspective, and then many initiatives that are managed locally as it's adapted to fit the local culture. But two of the initiatives that we're really focused on and standing behind globally, the first one is around inclusive recruitment, inclusive hiring. That is both for our recruiters who are hiring externally, but also for our internal colleagues who are hiring for ourselves. And really, this is about creating more opportunities, giving more people opportunities, seeing beyond the CV, seeing beyond the experience, really understanding not just around the skills, but also around the potential, and opening up more people to be presented to clients, to be presented as potential candidates that could be right for those roles. So really creating greater talent pools, creating greater visibility and greater opportunities for people. The other one is around the Future Skills Programme, which we have developed in conjunction with Microsoft, and it's about AI upskilling, predominantly for associates and candidates we're really looking to level the playing field, to support them in upskilling around AI, so they can have a greater and better opportunity to secure future employment. So I would say, yes, the framework is critical, and you need to have all of those pillars need to be executed on in equal measure for it to be a success, as you mentioned, but then having some real examples and tangible actions that you take underneath those pillars to really drive that accountability and change.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And it's really great to follow that work as well and to see how it's actually impacting the rollout in that as well. I turn to you, Magnus. This whole kind of like no regret framework, how Autoliv, how are you going to take that and actually, take it from being theoretical into applying it into practice?
Yeah, let me start just to say a couple of words on why I believe it's so important that you have something which is simple and pragmatic, because the whole subject we're discussing here today is rather complex. The more you learn about it, the more complexity you actually understand lays beneath it. And I mean, when you do things too complex, you kind of work your way into a situation where you tend to do nothing. So I think a lot of the work that we have done here is try to simplify it and make it actionable. And the 5 pillars that we have here, we can also put rather simple actions close to them. And you can also evaluate yourself in a way that you understand where you have strong performance or where you have gaps. So out of the 5 things we talk here, I think the 3 things that we are currently focusing on, not saying that is enough, but where we continue to work is first of all on processes and structures. I think processes, you can have it connected to recruiting, making sure you have equal opportunities for gender or for culture or countries, whatnot. It's very strongly connected to our talent and succession planning. You can have whatever KPIs that you want to follow up, but also how you evaluate people and how you take different capabilities and aspects into consideration to have a higher performing team is also very ingrained into the processes. I think what we're trying to do there is actually to hardwire a change into forcing a certain behavior. I think secondly, it's all about skill development. And if I want to point out one important thing for us is really the understanding of unconscious bias. So basically how you tend to select or how you tend to choose based on your own background, your own values and so forth. And just having that knowledge is extremely important to kind of, understand how yourself are acting in different situations. I think thirdly, which comes very much up to us as leaders, is role modeling. So what actions do we do in order to promote a further development of this whole topic as such? So I think in the end, for me and for us, it's all about changing a culture. Changing a culture takes at least 7 years. So where we need to start is to change behaviors. And that is what we're focusing on.
Yeah. And that comes back as well to what Alex said earlier with regards to, not just intention. Like, intention itself doesn't make change. It's the change in the behaviors and in the way we're doing things in our structures, which nudges us into that actual, impactful change. Karina, you had a bit of a different starting point than the other three here. What's this meaning for you at Bankgirot?
I mean, we have during 18 months now doubled the number of staff. So of course it's a journey when it comes to culture, behavior, but also onboarding. So that is something that we work hard with, onboarding and recruitment, and also we have a concept that we call radical collaboration. It's about how we listen to each other, how we find new perspective on things, and we will continue with this going forward as well, because we talk about, and I think you were on it also, Magnus, that I think the most important here is to start somewhere. It's not always that you know where to start, but find something to start with, and that's what we have done: recruitment, onboarding, and collaboration. And then we will continue working even more with the leadership and so on.
Yeah, yeah. So if we're starting somewhere, that progression, so think progression over perfection, right? Because you can't, if you go in with the perfect mind and thinking that everything's going to go, then maybe you'll end up doing nothing. But progression, making those steps. All right, so how are we going to hold ourselves accountable in this work? Both yourselves, Nadine, you said it, we've been holding you accountable for the last 6 months. How are you going to continue holding yourselves accountable and also each other? Nadine, would you like to build on that?
Yeah, I think accountability is something we expect from a business perspective from everyone by default. And I think for us as leaders, it's important that within that accountability aspect, we don't differentiate between like what is a business accountability and what is a culture or an inclusion accountability. It needs to be on the same level. For me, what I will do is, and I already have it, when we started in the preparation phase, I have it with the CEO of the company, so my direct manager. We have it on the quarterly review sessions. We talk about what are my quarterly results, what is the feedback, what goes well, what is green, what is amber, what is red. And this program is on that dialogue as well. So I will get questions from him. So I will hold myself also accountable, but he will do the same thing to me.
Yeah, wonderful.
Then, of course, it's more around how I will work with that within the management team. And we have inclusion as one of our objectives. We will put some of the very more concrete things, what we will do around age diversity, for instance. We will put that into, as well, concrete aspects into the team dialogues. Then, of course, the accountability goes more into what actions do I really do. And for me, that is one part of the age diversity that we are going to have a concrete action around is a mentorship program. And I will put myself part of that mentorship program myself. So that is one of the concrete actions. The other one is, as we say, that we need to be really doing and acting and showing more than talking as a role model. We are having a lot of interviews, we have a lot of movies, as we see here on the screen earlier today. But the main difference for a 20,000 employee organization is when you visit them and when you show up, that you take time to talk to them, to answer questions honestly, to be really engaging with them. And that is where I use different formulas that sometimes when I visit factories, I talk with a talent pool. The other time I even ask, like, okay, just ask in the factory, when I come by, who wants to talk to me? Who has questions? So we are really, for me, that's how I will make myself accountable. Every visit that I will do needs to have one element in there that is related to our actions and our program.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love the fact that you're going to join the Age Diversity Mentor Program as well. So will you be a mentor or will you be a mentee?
Yeah, that is, we are, I would prefer, but as with all the mentor programs, we need to be qualified. And that is for me the same. Yeah. So I will go through that too. Yeah. But I would prefer to be in the reverse mentorship. So I would love to learn from another young talent coming from wherever in the world. So open-minded to that.
Yeah, I love that. Reverse mentoring, there's a lot of power in that. Alex, accountability from the Adecco side, where do you see that?
Yeah, I think we have an extremely supportive executive committee and CEO around inclusion, and I think one of you guys mentioned earlier the importance of leadership really getting behind this and taking accountability. We have an biannual survey called Your Voice Matters, which is a satisfaction survey for all colleagues, and the exec committee have committed to having 3 questions that relate specifically to our values, one of those being inclusion. And the results, of course, come out twice a year. We see the results of that, and we have some specific KPIs that we look at. And I think the important thing is really seeing beyond the result and understanding the comments and taking concrete actions. So supporting globally the local teams to have specific actions around improving and having an ongoing improvement in those scores. So I think you've got to have a measurement in place and you've got to really be accountable for improving that measurement, and you're forever on, you know, it's a topic that never ends, you know, and you have to be really passionately on it from the top to the bottom at all times.
Very much so, which is where also the model comes in with regards to the structure and processes, because that helps to build the framework and also the leadership there with the accountability. We've had the 2-minute notice, so we're down to 1. So we need to round off. We're going to be keeping you accountable as well. We're going to be getting together on a semi-regular basis to hear how it's going. We'll be bringing that out to all of you as well. In 12 months, we'll be back. You'll know when and where, and share the insights and the learnings. And then we've got a new cohort, which is underway. Together with Stockholm School of Economics, we are in the process of reviewing who will be in the next group, and we look forward to bringing you that news later in the year as well. But thank you very much. Big round of applause for these 4 rock stars.